Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake, and as promised, I'm back to talk about astrology a little bit. So for those who are interested, who are just beginning, who aren't interested in it but are interested in my story, come along for the ride. It's really worth it. Totally is. Because, this is a huge language. And mastery of it does not come the way that I've approached it, which is sort of, my understanding of astrology has evolved with my consciousness. And so it's important to know with my journey that I gave up all spiritual teachers and spiritual training back in the 80s, actually. I took a class, quite extensive one, and the middle one and the advanced one in Tarot. And I think in really early, like in 85 or 86. And that's the last time I took any kind of training, except for the teachers. And once they left, it was once in a while I'd hit a metaphysical bookstore, but I knew it was off limits. So the astrology pursuits have always remained, because that to me is not, that's just a science, man. So I did keep up on it, but I didn't delve. Partly because, it wasn't time. So when I come to this, I'm coming to it with a database that is all passion-driven, not instructor-driven. And so I'll give you what I know. And, Google is a great friend when looking these things up, as is YouTube. So that means a lot of this work has been peppered with aha moments. And the biggest one of all happened about a week ago. Because up until then, what I really could take to the bank about my astrology sign was that it was incredibly strenuous. And in the end, I realized that there really was no way out, that I would always have this setup. This would always be the way that information comes in and goes out and stuff. Cryon had given us all a little bit of hope, saying, hey, if you want to change your magnetics, if you want to change your Mandala, your zodiac sign, you can. Who says you have to stay with the one you've got? So that was a really nice permission slip. But had I not had a date and a time and place, had I not had a new natal chart available to me, I don't know if I would have made that leap. I'm kind of concrete that way. So there were a couple of aha moments here. And the biggest one of all truly was last week, when I had tabs open. I had family, friends, and myself, Sam, all these people up, and so I could see, and I would go back and forth. And what I learned from that experience was, really, you can look at the picture, just the picture, and feel that person. And so, really, it would be very possible to, at this point, put it with this knowledge base. If it were the first time I saw, my dad's natal chart in a lineup, I'd probably be able to pick that as his, because the very geometry is so much like him. In his case, it literally looks like a bow that's like that, and an arrow, and you can tell that there's this tension of just, yeah. And, it's like that with my sister and with everybody. I can just tell. So what does mine say? For the most part, it's all, on one half, the action's at one half, anchored very sweetly by a retrograde Neptune in the third house. That was a reason why I decided to talk, because what I understand about Neptune retrograde. Well, Neptune in the houses, I had Kaipacha walk me through. And he said that where Neptune is, whatever house placement, that's the place where you stuck a toe out, and it was such a bad experience that you shut the door on that one, and you have some fear around it, and so it's sort of like your personal best kind of thing of trying to make a dent in that energy. The third house for me, the third house is the house of pleasure. I didn't like seeing that, but how true that is. How true that is. And it's also the sign of home life and children. That's interesting. So, that sort of makes a kite pattern which frames a lot of action. And the action's happening way above Neptune. And it's basically dark and light. It's my ascendant, Pluto retrograde, and my North Node conjunct. So it's like a team effort here. Pluto is the underworld. Retrograde, it's amped up. It is the placement of enemies. And I had a lot of them. I had a lot of people picked on me a lot, okay? And I know if I talked about it, it sounds paranoid, but it's the truth. So it's really nice to have this, come upon, and I can say, yeah, we'll see. I'm not making it up. But that's its own affliction, and it's staring right into the sun. Well, it's actually a grouping of 11 planets that are all less than 10 degrees from each other. Planets and asteroids. But the direct opposition is the sun and Pluto. The sun and my node, the sun and my ascendant. So Pluto held the key to everything, to my future. And this is all in the first house, the house of self. Oh God, what a mess. So my deal was to find true love and to couple. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a fun one. To dream the impossible dream. I have Venus in Aries in the 18th degree. That's like the cursed degree. And can you imagine a woman with her Venus, her love planet in Aries, which is the planet of get those pants off, god damn it. So yeah. Alrighty then. So we're populating this picture, right? So we've got that thing going on, all that yakety yak, all that opposition, all that work. And pretty much that's all I saw. What else is there? There's a couple planets that are doing their thing, but who cares about that? Look at that Pluto thing. So that was me. And then last week I had a whole bunch, like I said, of tabs up, and I mistook Sam's chart for mine. They're very similar. So I goggled at that for a minute, and I checked where the planet placements are, and it's freaking me out. And then I see this geometry. It's like a skinny pie piece. And it's not quite right in his, but then I looked at mine, and it's like, I looked at the numbers. Hold the phone. Could this be what I always wished I had? What I had to have. It just made sense, given everything. Why don't I have a yod? Oh, honey. I have a yacht. So while all of this evil and good, light and dark, crucifixion and resurrection shit's going on, this heavy duty stuff, there is something else going on in my chart. This stuff made me feel dirty and twisted, because I am dirty and twisted. I'm a dirty girl, so to speak. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no judgment there. It's all just humanity and trying to figure out humanity. Well, all right, you can spend a lifetime doing that, I guess. But what's this other thing? All right, let's talk about the houses. In my 10th house, there is Uranus, and it's retrograde. Again, that means that the energy is more internal, but it also would indicate karma, do-over. I'm a retrograde person. I have 5 retrogrades. So it's a do-over lifetime. And the 12th house is the house of infinity, of the unseen and unknown. It's the house of secrets. Knowing things, being responsible for things that others cannot fathom. Wow. Uranus in the 12th house. And then you move over one house. Uranus in the 12th house, that's at 23 degrees. The next house over is the 11th house. And I don't know. I don't really have a handle on what that means. Oh, it's community. Community. And that's where I have Black Moon Lilith at 25 degrees. And then move another house over. And I have a conjunct of less than 10 degrees of the moon and Mars. The moon in the 10th house of fame, and it's the midheaven. It's very auspicious. And the moon-Mars conjunct is also highly auspicious, especially in Vedic astrology. And my Mars is curiously placed. Yes, they're less than 10 degrees apart. But my moon is in Gemini, where thoughts are things, and emotions are thoughts, and it's a beautiful thing. I love that. But look what happened to Mars. Mars is in the 1st degree of Cancer. It's neutralized. In fact, it's in good position, and it's an anchor for a lot of energy. It shares the same house. It shares the 10th house. But it's been softened. Now, with a yod, what I understand is that the crust part of the pie slice, that they talk to each other and help each other, okay? So Uranus, that's like transpersonal, and guess what? Uranus is the planet of like lightning bolts and weird things happening and bottoms falling out and light shows and things like that. So we got that kind of action. It goes in the lineage. Uranus is the granddaddy. Uranus is the father of Saturn, and Saturn is the father of Jupiter. Okay? So that's pretty neat, isn't it? So Uranus, sitting here in retrograde doing its thing, is hanging out and talking with the moon. They're not talking to Lilith necessarily. They're talking to the moon, although Lilith juices it all up. And so, boom, they're talking with each other and helping each other. What are they helping each other with? Well, Uranus and the moon come down to address Saturn at the 25th degree. Uranus is at 23. The moon's at 23. Saturn is at 25. Black Moon Lilith is at 25. This is such a powerful yod. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? The feminine, the interpersonal, the maternal, the mother and infant in love with each other, connected to and enlivened by and strengthened by Uranus. New ideas, lightning bolt ideas, coming down to inform and understand and be assisted by Saturn, the Father. Saturn is the Lord of Karma. Saturn represents death, restriction, constriction. The patriarchy, the male. And then, here's the moon, 23 degrees. Here's Uranus, 23 degrees, coming down to talk to Jupiter, who's at 26 degrees, and so does form a yod. 3 degrees or less for an orb, for a yod. What I've been aware of ever since is that this deep polarity that I live in can be ascribed to this. The conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter is called the Great Conjunction. It's connected to Jesus. It's connected to the Star of David. It's a big deal. And to have the Great Significator as part of a yod involving the 10th, 11th, and 12th house with these planets, it's also a big deal. And now that I know that, well, there's no one I'm going to argue with. There's nothing to argue about anymore. I've been saying I know who I am. But sometimes you need confirmation. I can tell from that configuration that the stuff I've been talking about Jesus, ascension, higher consciousness, I haven't been blowing smoke. I've been remembering and talking as the memories gel. That's what I've been doing. So what I've been very happy about is that there is a lot more juice that goes to Jupiter in the end than goes to Saturn. And although it's a very, 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 very strong yod, and because Lilith is at 25 and Saturn's at 25, I think it's fairly obvious the lifetime pattern that I was here to address. And I have. Uranus retrograde also indicate, and these other retrogrades also indicate severe blockages that were not of my making. Many things to overcome. And through that process, and the process of recognition, and the process of being loved exactly as I am, without a requirement that I improve, those things change me. That's what I think really irks me about my past behavior, especially in relationship. I just wasn't there. I could not find a way to love unconditionally at times. And at times it wasn't appropriate. That's weird, huh? That's hard. Have you had those things come up? Have you had to deal with things like that? Maybe so. These are the times. So for me, what I've realized is that this was a sainted life. This was a purposeful life, and it was touched, and it wasn't supposed to be normal. It would have been inappropriate to live, one of those traditional lives. It wasn't the point. And so I need to know more about Black Moon Lilith, because it's powerful. I guess it actually is a calculation. It has to do with the moon, which kind of blows me away. And it's just nice to know that geometry's there, okay? And I don't, for like my whole life, I hated my natal chart. I just hated it because it was just like a veil of tears. Holy crap, you need to take one look at it to know that something's wrong. So that's what I lived with. It just, I know I gotta live with this and be proud of it, but I don't exactly know how. And now, I'm really glad that it walks with me, and I'm really glad that Sam said what he did. You're not a Taurus, you're a Pisces with Taurus influences. Bravo, Sam. Correct, as always. So, this new natal chart came into my life. And the birthday is the 26th, and there's nowhere else where the 26 figures prominently in my life. We need to review the 25. The number 25 figures very prominently in my spiritual awakening time. It's the day, May 25 is the day I graduated nursing school. It's also the day, May 25, the day that Sammy graduated kindergarten. It's also the day, May 25, that I had a conversion up at a casino and talked to a light, and then all the casino lights went down with the machines, and then I had NDEs. That all happened on May 25. My son's birthday is the 25th. And there are many, many, many other examples of the 25th figuring prominently in my life. It always bothered me because, to me, the number that should be most prominent is the 23rd. That's my birthday. Are you seeing the numbers now? And the 26th, well, that's my gateway to a new reality. April 26, 2012, when I had my meditation about the son of Antares being born. And I needed a key. I needed some way to release myself from my old geometries. Some sort of confirmation that there was a way out that was organic, that did not involve violence or death. And here it is. The sextiles which talk to each other, Uranus and the moon, in my yod. These, the degree that they fall on is 23, my birthday. And Saturn, which is what nearly killed me my whole life and kept punching me in the throat every time I tried to talk. 25th degree. Do you know of what sign? Freaking Capricorn. Saturn is exalted in Capricorn. Saturn's at full strength, in other words. So I'm coming down, juicing to get to do battle, or come to terms with Saturn in the 25th degree. But it's conjoined. Simultaneously, what's happening is there's different energies actually coming down and conjoining with my old pal Jupiter. Jupiter has also figured very prominently in my spiritual work. Jupiter is the planet that I was told it's like my influence, it's my planet, it's my deal. And the teachers explained it's Jupiter getting tickled that has resulted in people not being able to keep a secret very good. That tickling happened in the 90s, but it takes a while. So Jupiter is a big deal. in my life. Jupiter gets personified in an entity that visits me and channels comedy writing. His name is Ernie. He's an imp, and Ernie is always around. Ernie's my trickster, and I like trickster energy. I love it, actually. So Jupiter's been my pal, but I just always felt like it's just kind of hanging out there, and it's not really related to much. I just like it. Well, for this to come down to 26 degrees, the only other significator for the 26th is April 26th. So I thought to myself, well, I guess that's a way out. Because what's happening here is that all of this feminine energy, all of this weird energy, all of this new energy is given to Saturn, and that whole structure crumbles with self-realization, and they're becoming self-aware. The way home is through Jupiter. And I think to myself, when I'm thinking Saturnian thoughts, I don't have enough money, I didn't make it, I'm a loser, all those things, because I'm measuring myself. Here comes Jupiter, one tick over, and I am in a different reality, where I'm valid because I have a heartbeat, and God loves me. I mean, super, super loves me, and likes to show me how. And their blessings and fun things. Well, they're riding along with each other. They're on top of each other. I'm responsible for both. For both. And now, I see I can use this portion of the yod as a springboard to my new chart. And I have pictures up for you so you can take a look at it. The very first visual, when I punched in those numbers, I finally got it right. I got the day right. I knew it was the 26th. I played with the other days, but the 26th was the only day that made sense. I kept seeing an 8. But 28 wasn't right. I don't like the number 10. It has to be the 26th. And then the time. But I figured that out finally. I would take my smoke break between 3 and 4 a.m. And that's when that vision of Antares happened. Well, I was born at 5:43 p.m. Why not just flip it, baby? And I did. I saw that picture the very first time, and I knew. This isn't made up. This is some pretty advanced stuff. Because it's hard for me to explain how special the Star of David is to me. I can't. It just is. And I'm sad I can't wear it because I feel like it's really my symbol. But I can't. I can wear a little Merkaba. Same difference. Same difference. It's just a line drawing of a Merkaba to me. It doesn't have anything to do with the Jewish faith. But there it is, man. I can't escape it. I can't escape it. My yod points to the same configuration that is connected with Jesus' birth and Jesus. And now will you look at it? The only planet that saved its degree that I noticed right off the bat is Saturn. But look what happened to Saturn. Now Saturn is on his own, and he's in Libra. He gets to have relationship, finally. He gets to soften. And that's a wonderful thing for him. I'm so glad for him. He needed it. And around the wheel we go. There's satisfaction and peace. There's accord. I'm in agreement with this chart. It's simply beautiful. I like the couplets. There's a lot of coupled energy. It's so cute, you know. And I like what the couples say. I want to give you a for instance because I think it's kind of fun to have that. I hope that all this just makes you really hungry for looking up your natal chart. There's a few sites that are really fun. There's astrowin.org. Now I'm going to want to talk about synastry for a minute, but astrowin.org will give you a very, very good chart, and then it will give you a very good report. And at the end, it'll give you a chart of the symbols. There are other sites that are more direct with the technical portions, and I don't remember their website names, but just put in free natal report asteroids, and you'll get stuff. I use alwaysastrology.com. That's like my go-to place because it's really easy to access a really, really good chart, which you can pare down. You can take off the ascendants, off the asteroids, or you can add them. You can add the report or leave it off. It's really great. So, what I want to do though is just give you an idea of the new natal chart because that's really kind of where the action's at now, and it's really just placement. What I notice again is that most of the planets are sort of gathered around the sun, and I'll have to look to see, but it looks like it's about the same placement. So it's in the early portion of the zodiac sign, which is surprising to me. But I just love the placement of this stuff. So I want to speak to this because I think this indicates the degree of healing. Pluto retrograde. It dogged me last lifetime, right? And now it's in Capricorn. As is, of course, it is for the generation. Now, what's important to me as a native Pluto retrograde is that I know that this is an influence that is naturally destructive, but not intentionally so. Highly challenging, but not intentionally so. And kind of dark and twisty. Intentionally so. It is a challenging planet. And I love that it's in Capricorn. I love that it's holding one of the points of an Earth trine. And so that's a beautiful thing. And I really love the placement of the moon. It's now in Cancer. Can't get better than that, man. And I love what Mars is doing. Mars is holding one of the points of the Earth trine. It's in opposition to the ascendant in Neptune. And I'm going to have to read up on that a little bit. But that kind of makes sense. I got Neptune. Aww. Neptune is no longer retrograde. And it's coupled with my ascendant. It's conjunct my ascendant and Chiron. And it's in Pisces. So I think that's really pretty. And Pisces holds another one of the great triangle positions. That one is not purely in water because it's Pisces, Libra, and Cancer. So I missed Scorpio by a couple of degrees. So it's not a complete grand trine in water. But it would have been. Oh, shucks. So, I like that my North Node is in the 9th house. I read up on that. And with Rahu in the in the 9th and Ketu in the 3rd. I did some thorough research, and what's happening truly is that configuration has been manifesting. That pretty much manifested first. And I can look back the last year and see, oh yeah, that really, or longer, yeah, it really has been coming to fruition. And reading that yesterday, it was like another confirmation of, yeah, this really is real. I can't deny this stuff any longer. So the other thing that I think is really beautiful is that the Sun and Jupiter are not conjoined, but they're kind of walking close to each other. And I think that's really sweet. I needed that. So I have a beautiful, actually the Jupiter is conjunct, you're going to love this, Black Moon Lilith. It's conjunct Black Moon Lilith. And that's very close to my Sun, but over 10 degrees. Further, it's a head scratcher. I'm going to have to give some thought to this. I have Uranus, no longer retrograde, conjunct, it's 4-degree orb with Mercury. And it just is an interesting thing. That's all I can say. That's all I know. And it's in the first house. So it's probably good to look at that. There's a whole lot going on in my first house. Uranus and Mercury and a couple other things. It's like, wow, I got to take notice of this because my first house is in Aries. So I feel so much peace with all of it. I feel really like taken care of. Now my Saturn actually is retrograde, and it wasn't before. But I do not have a retrograde chart. The only things that are retrograde are Saturn and Pluto, and I'm really glad Pluto's retrograde. And it makes sense to me that Saturn is retrograde given its role last time. What an opportunity. What a window into a different world. I'm living proof that you can. It's not so much I'm gonna choose my new life. I'm gonna choose my new horoscope. It wasn't like that for me. It was here. It's time. And I had to piece things together. It was not an act of will. It was an act of force and of timing and of readiness. So you can tell that my database is incomplete with a lot of this stuff, and I like it that way. It'll always be incomplete. When it comes to astrology, it'll always be complete. And boy, oh boy, do I like studies like that. I mean, I like the idea of QHHT and learning how to be a hypnosis therapist in quantum hypnosis. But that alone is not enough. And numerology, that alone, but astrology, wow, you can pack a lot in astrology. And it just keeps going. And here's the crazy part. Astrology, as we know it, is based on the male mythology, the hero's journey. It has been pasted on women. My hero's journey is not yours, dude. And there's been so much noise, no one's even asked me what my journey was. And so I made a little patch of grass for myself. I sat my ass down and I told you how I like that. Black Moon Lilith at play in that yard. And I know that there are astrological influences to my daily life that I may not even be aware of. and in my mind and heart. So it's great to use my intuition and the tools at hand to learn more about what's going on. To close, I want to tell you a couple of things that are kind of fun. We were driving around yesterday. Me and Sam have come to a peace that is much better. I still expect that he or I will wind up yelling irrationally at some point during the day, but then that'll be followed closely by laughing rather than crying and saying, "Why do you hate me so much?" Which I think might help the mood around here. And so yeah, that's changed. And we were driving around town, and I said I just feel so freaking different. And so, like, from a year ago, like around this time, what's different about me? And he said, "You look about 40 years old." I said, "Well, wait a minute here. Does that mean I look younger than last year?" He said, "Oh, yeah." So I asked him why. What do you ascribe to this great change, oh young one? He said, "Well, you were really pissed off before, and now you're not pissed." Well, it's true. Until very recently, I carried around a burden which actually burned me inside, pushed me, and was such a force that I still don't know how or why. But a relationship that was instrumental in my feeling worthy of being here. It really was an eye-opener, and it's never really stopped for me. It's still, and that was the problem. It went on daily, from morning to night, even though contact is nil, and I can't see how it could possibly resume. What do I do with this? It's a stillbirth, but it keeps screaming at me. I was in so much pain, just from the paradoxes, just from it was really hard. Can I explain something? That Uranus, that moon, and Mars, and that black moon Lilith pointed down to Saturn in Capricorn. And Jupiter in Capricorn. These are much different energies, and I inhabited both. And I didn't want to leave the Saturn. Just didn't. But a train was coming, and it was number 26. I had to get on it. And this April 26th natal chart geometry has taught me a lot about how to reconfigure my relationship with myself and with others. The natal chart I came from was about self and other, to the exclusion of almost everything else. It was a concentrated study life, and it was a healing life, and it was a master's life. The geometry I take on is also, obviously, the word sainted, it's just special. But there's balance where there was once a razor's edge. And there's bounty where there was once discipline. And there is ease where there once was none. And without this device or without this new natal chart, I think I would have to find an event and use it as a new natal chart, simply because you reach the end of the road with some of this stuff, and I had reached the end of the road with my Pisces geometry. There had to be an end to it, and I think the only way out of that one was an early death, or it was so painful. I couldn't see much resolution. I could just see making peace for a time, and then it would start again, and then peace, and then it would start again. So my new natal chart, which I've already adopted, I'm just getting used to, handles love and life and death differently, relationship differently. And I want to be here. I walked through the gate already. It's a done deal. And maybe on the 26th of December I'll commemorate it. I don't know. All I know is that there's release. And not everybody has this kind of geometry, dude. Take a look at yours. And if your gut reaction is, oh, it's so pretty, why would you think about changing it? Just learn from it. But if you look at your geometry and then you read about it and you realize you have been tasked with a Herculean mission. And for my life, I came here on purpose, and it was a spiritual purpose. And it had very little to do with coupling or any of that stuff. So for me to have been, laid out by love, well, that was unexpected. And then now there's no question in my mind about whether this is some sort of, teenage goof, and I'm just going to rethink it later and be embarrassed about having even thought about having a new natal chart. It's just not like that. It's Permission City. So it's the 23rd. I'm totally excited because I got in touch with my painter. I've been painting basically in acrylics and mixed media for a really long time. I love glitter, and I love metallic, junk bits, and I love tactile art, and even art that you can hear. I love it. And the unexpected. And so I'm really excited about this new project, and I'm really happy that I found something that I can do that really just brings me so much joy, and other people like. Ooh. I keep playing with my book. It's so much fun to play, so I'm letting myself play. What do you think of that? And that's what I'm noticing whenever I get into that mode. Either my son's there to calm me down, or I'm there because it just doesn't feel right anymore. To I don't know, to be worried, to be afraid, to be anxious. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It used to make a lot of sense. Look at my old geometry. Why wouldn't it? But in this more balanced place, there's a lot more Thanksgiving and peace and just comfort. And that's what they say about grand trines. Oh, you might get too comfortable. I think not. I think there's enough in my new chart to portend greatness, fruition. That Star of David, to me, it signifies harvest. So that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed this. Namaste.